Nithyananda. Welcome to all of the viewers as we are continuing on today's program. After the most delectable and the most sacred offering of Maheshwara Puja, we had been just in the divine presence of the Avatar, for whom we offered this ritual of the Maheshwara Puja in order for all of our ancestors, all of the ancestors and all of the lives lost in tragedy and lost in various different extremes and natural disasters, as well as different types of attacks against innocent lives. All of those lives are then liberated by the incarnation of Paramashiva. Now, over just the last 1 year, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been regularly conducting and liberating the souls of so many thousands of people and making this offering available for so many people to find consolation and, more than that, find extreme relief to their grief and suffering attached to the loss of their loved ones. More so now than any other time in history, we have been facing the loss of our loved ones. And out of more than any other leader, in any other government leader, more than any other organization leader, more than any other kinds of leaders, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has made it available so that we can find spiritual solution and complete our inner grievances, as so much is happening around us. Yet, despite having contributed to the world, offered to the world the best solutions for some of the worst things that have happened, including so many suicides and anxiety, cases of anxiety, chronic depression on the escalating in the world, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is among the most persecuted people on planet Earth, persecuted with relentless persecution, hate speech in the media, incessant lawfare, brutal attacks, physical attacks, and what we are focusing on today, assassination attempts. Now, we have analyzed how there has been literally a campaign of state-sponsored, almost assassination attempts against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And it happens in a very strategic way, based by the anti-Hindu militant forces and the neo-Hindutva militant forces. Now, the main ways that they do this is, one, by media demonization, by using the media, which the anti-Hindu militant forces fundamentally own, and making entirely assassinating the character, demonizing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and even anyone that they target to start a campaign of assassination attempts. They also use the tactic of mob violence with police complicity. So in this instance, using mob violence or using many surrounding the victim by so many people, by a mob of angry paid henchmen, and using also police complicity, making the police unable to act in either side of the ordeal, and thus using that in order to attempt to lynch a certain member of a minority or religious minority or marginalized community. And third, we also see in all of these assassination attempts absolutely no legal recourse, meaning that there had been no justified procedure, no due process that happened in the face of the law or any kind of judiciary. When it comes to the judiciary, even posing these attempts to assassinate would be rejected, not taken, and they would not be filed as even a police complaint, much less any further steps in the due process to prosecute the criminals at hand. Now, this strategy has been overused again and again, attempted against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism since the last 2 decades. We have seen continuously how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been victim to so many different attacks, from especially in 2010. Now, just to give a little bit of background about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, his work prior to 2010, where he had successfully revived Kailasa and revived the nation, the Hindu civilizational nation, that was the single and only hope for the entire Hinduism. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had literally gone city to city, on foot, in car, by air, and enriched one person at a time, until all Hindus across the world were inspired to re-identify with Hinduism, take it up as their passionate lifestyle, and revive Hinduism in its entirety. Across every single place that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had gone to and enriched so many thousands of people, and did discourses, conducted programs, and did darshan, met people one-on-one, healed them of their different sufferings, and ultimately promised that he would take care as their guru and guardian, as the person that they finally accepted as their guru in their lives. And they revered, worshipped after that point. And in every single city, in every single place, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism gone to, there were the seeds of superconscious energy sown, so that after that, an ecosystem would be created, the infrastructure would rise up in the form of temples, in the form of annalayas, in the form of gurukuls, all over the whole world. Today, with more than 2,500 centers, all of this started in 2003 as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism literally was enriching the whole world with this beautiful and mission for the revival of Kailasa. Now, by 2009, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had successfully revived a nation, and it became extremely clear that he would be successful in a very large scale. And not only did he draw the nationwide attention, but also international attention, as Hindus were inspired to begin living free from an oppressed lifestyle as they had been for the last 1,000 years after so much of Holocaust and genocide. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism thus became a target for the anti-Hindu militant forces, who saw the success of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as a direct threat to their continued oppression of Hindus and Hindu kingdoms, and their continuous looting and stealing of Hindu resources, including the money that was donated in Hindu temples, the generation of Hindu art and Hindu businesses that they were trying to steal from in order to continue their criminal activities. The anti-Hindu militant forces thus saw that it was absolutely necessary to exterminate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and entirely stop his mission, the revival of Kailasa, from happening. From 2009, and even before, with some evidences, from 2009, we have the earliest evidence of leaders of the anti-Hindu militant terrorist forces who had began plotting, conspiring to ultimately try to assassinate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism.
And one of the main reasons why the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, one of the main reasons why the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been attacked is also the Supreme Pontiff's bold and progressive vision for Hinduism, which is underscored by an emphasis on openness and inclusiveness. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is not a member of a historically privileged caste community, has publicly declared himself to be of a transcendental gender, owns female clothing in public, and strongly advocates for female empowerment, LGBTQ rights, and caste-neutral religious traditions. However, the modern and the progressive however modern and progressive these stances may be, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has rooted each and every one of them in the 5,000-year-old source scriptures of Hinduism, and each of them in the depths of the Vedas and the Agamas. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has constantly been an outspoken voice for social justice and has publicly challenged caste supremacy and patriarchy in India. Now, this authentic revival of a progressive Hinduism has not gone unnoticed amongst the anti-Hindu elements and the new Hindutva militant forces. And literally, they control so many different dimensions of the entire society and the ecosystem. And the Supreme Pontiff's bold stances on the very highly the controversial topics has put him squarely in the crossroads of the major eyes of the anti-Hindu elements and the subversive and the controlled functionaries in the police, judiciary, and in media. So the anti-Hindu elements on one side and the new Hindutva elements on the other side started a full spectrum of a campaign of media demonization, assassination attempts on the life of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and those of his followers, gang rape of his followers, state-sponsored terrorism, police torture, and the denial of any kind or any form of a judicial recourse over a span of 10 years. And that is continuing even till today. And today, as a part of the Hindu Persecution Awareness Month, we wanted to share with you about the various assassination attempts that Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been subjected to. And we are going to introduce to you what really led to this persecution. Now, first and foremost, we need to know that there are disparate forces trying to aligning to eliminate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. On one side, we have the anti-Hindu elements, and on the other side, we have the neo-Hindutva elements. These are the two main elements of the society who are trying to assassinate and exterminate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Now, the atheist group could be in politics, people in the political parties, or who have an atheist agenda, or it could be the media, it could be any kind of an anti-Hindu movement who understood that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving Sanatana Hindu Dharma, and they wanted to completely destroy the last lamp of Hinduism. So that's on one side. And the other side, the other agents of the persecution is the neo-Hindutva elements. And these extremist Hindutva movement, they are identified. They are known to monopolize the space of Hinduism in order to bring all the Hindu indigenous religious traditions under their exclusive political control. And the communities that cannot be so controlled are digested, such as the Kailasa and the Adishavite minority tradition, and they are systematically and violently eradicated. So they use Hinduism to politicize the religion and to have an exclusive control over Hinduism as a religion for the purpose of politics. And whichever community they are not able to digest, then they systematically and violently eradicate them and eliminate them. So this neo-Hindutva forces, they refused to, they wanted to target the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who has had an extremely progressive stance in various different topics. and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had steadfastly refused to act as an vote bank or as a political proxy for these neo-Hindutva elements, and therefore the Kailasa and Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been a subject for genocidal attacks by these neo-Hindutva elements through a carefully orchestrated campaign in India. And this campaign started with hate speech, with character assassination on in a party-controlled mainstream media, social media, and it then proceeded to ideological attacks on Kailasa's religious sacred sentiments and the women in the leadership. And then it moved on to state-sponsored physical assault, arson, gang rape, attempted murder, mob lynching, and assassination attempts on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So today we would like to present to you what really led to the entire violence. Now, one thing that we need to know, it has been a decade of persecution on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And this decade of persecution, deconstructing the cycle of media-driven violence. One thing we need to understand, you repeat a lie enough so that it becomes the truth. Keep repeating a lie often enough so that it becomes the truth is a cardinal law of propaganda used by the Nazis. And the psychologists refer to this phenomena as the illusion of truth. When a truth is assessed, people rely on whether the information is in line with their understanding of it, or if it feels familiar. So here, logically, they compare new information with what they already know to be true. So repetition makes statements easier to process relative to new unrepeated statements, leading people to believe that the repeated conclusion is more truthful. The corrupt media outlets then often apply these same techniques and thereby become an agent provocators instead of neutral arbitrators of truth. So the entire persecution broke out in 2010 with a targeted media hate speech and followed by a series of assassination attempts on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Now, how does the media cycle of violence, how does it stand? So it's basically of 4 stages, and we are going to be presenting to you the 4 stages of the media violence. What are the 4 stages of media-driven violence? So it starts with So the media-driven cycle of violence can be broken down into basically 4 stages. So the first stage of the media-driven violence starts with media demonization. So the party-controlled media demonizes, delegitimizes, dehumanizes their target to incite violence against them and to eliminate any sympathy from the consciousness of the viewing public. Here you can see on the character assassination, on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and then the media reports about His Divine Holiness were not limited to defamation and caricatures, but also included public calls for physical violence. So it starts with media demonization. On Suvarna TV, a local Hindutva leader, Vagish Prasad, actually brandished a machete on a live TV and called for the murder of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. No action was taken by the channel, media regulators, or law enforcement in response to Vagish Prasad's very public death threat against the Supreme Pontiff. Then the next step starts with a mob violence with political complicity. So all the anti-Hindu elements, used mob violence as a weapon by relying on anonymity. A crowd covers, offers, and assassins can blend in and dispatch their targets without the fear of being identified or being held responsible. So the corrupt police who answer to their political benefactors stand idly or actively participate in the violence. So nobody knows who was the one who actually performed the violence, because they come in such large numbers. So this whole thing is to not to be able to identify the person who was actually the perpetrator of the crime. And then the third step is that of a legal recourse, where there is absolutely no legal recourse available, with the justice system being one of the most corrupt in the world in India, and the victims of the orchestrated mob violence have no chance of reporting crime done against them, let alone holding their attackers accountable. The police was corrupt in the pocket of politicians. So the victims of politically motivated violence are ignored, laughed at, or in some cases beaten and raped for daring to report the crimes in the first place. And where cases were allowed to be, even if you're allowed to file cases, they stall out indefinitely in the corrupt and the inefficient judicial system. And finally comes the media demonization. Following the outbreak of mob lynching and the mob violence, the anti-Hindu media outlets report the incident as an organic, spontaneous event, justified by a very narrative they originally propagated. So they start with an hate speech, they continue with the mob violence, there is no legal recourse available, and the media demonization continues to continuously repeat a lie until people start believing it. So the mob violence is characterized as a work of an outraged locals, while the involvement of the anti-Hindu elements and the people of the anti-Hindu militants and the police officers in the violence is whitewashed and never reported. The violence is further demonized and blamed for the victim is actually blamed and demonized for bringing the violence upon themselves. So these are the 4 stages of targeted killing, which leads to an orchestrated mob violence. So what really happened?
Yes, Mom. For these 4 steps, I'd like to give one example, external from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself, and we'll get to those examples as well. But let's take just the murders of the Mahamandaleshwars and the revered sadhus from last year in Palghar. How the exact same thing happened. First of all, in the first step, already sannyasis are already so looked down upon by the media with continuous caricatures and so many different articles in the media, absolutely disrespecting and dehumanizing Hindu sadhus in the first place. And then if you see the second step, again, mob violence with complicity from authorities. In the same way we saw last year how the Palghar, in Palghar, they had literally been handed over to the mob, and there was no one person who could be accountable for the deaths of these revered sadhus. And second, again, there was no legal recourse for what had happened against them. And finally, again, when we saw afterwards how the media portrayed their deaths, they said that they were thieves, that they said that they were criminals and the mob had killed some criminals. This is exactly the strategy of the anti-Hindu militant forces, and they have used it time and time again. These are targeted killings, meaning they had planned, and these were assassinations of these great revered sadhus. And who were they? They were Mahamandaleshwars. They were leaders of the Hindu akhadas. And there was a direct planned attack against them. These 4 steps are time and time again used in order to justify, in order to strategize and eliminate the Hindu sadhus and Hindu leaders. And now we can see exactly how that happened in the attacks against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in 2010 as well. So I just wanted to make that parallel as you were speaking about how these targeted killings are, of course, not exclusive for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, but any Hindu leader and whom they feel is a threat and whom they feel they need to eliminate. The anti-Hindu Hindu forces target to eliminate.
Absolutely. And in the case of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, how did they plan this attack? First of all, the anti-Hindu elements, they doctor a morphed video and they repeatedly telecast that morphed video on a national television channel, and they leak it out in the media. The very person who created the morphed video has come forward and given a sworn affidavit in the United States court saying that I was the one who morphed the video, and I was told by this anti-Hindu media mafia to actually morph the video, and I was the one who morphed it. And he has given a sworn affidavit in the United States court admitting that he was the one who actually created and doctored this video. So first of all, they create a doctored video, publish it in the mainstream media continuously, repeatedly. It was played just to prepare the stage for the orchestrated mob violence which was planned by the anti-Hindu elements. So first they released the doctored video, continuously played it repeatedly in the national media channels, and then followed the assassination attempts. And what really happened during these assassination attempts? We wanted to show you how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was actually literally followed for over 3,000 kilometers from 2nd of March, which was when the doctor video was first released on the national media channel from Tiruvannamalai, that you can see here in the picture that's projected. So basically from Tiruvannamalai, Swamiji's own birth town, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was followed from Tiruvannamalai to Namakkal, to Sirgadi, to Salem, and all the way from Salem, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was followed, tracked, and as Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism entered the Adi Kailasa Sarvingapita in Bengaluru Adinam, and in the headquarters, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had a brutal assassination attempt, and as the Supreme Pontiff's car traveled all the way from there, it went all the way to Pondicherry, which is one of the Adinams of the Enlightenment ecosystems established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And then from Pondicherry all the way up till the north, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was tracked as Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism went to attend his spiritual responsibility as the Mahamandaleshwar of the Mahanirvani Akada. So he had to attend to the Kumbh Mela. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was tracked everywhere. Multiple assassination attempts happened, and today we are going to show you how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was taken from one place to the next, and how he was traced, and the various assassination attempts that happened on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in today's segment after a short break.
System, literally enlightenment itself, in your own home, wherever you are. If you cannot come to Kailasa, it's okay. Kailasa can come to you. Kailasa coming to you is E-Kailasa. I will revive Hinduism. I am a Hindu revivalist, not by any revolution, but by evolution. And setting model community. Kailasa, enlightenment ecosystems, Sarvanya Pitas all over the world. All powerful cognitions, knowledge, only when you live, power manifestation and possibilities manifestation happens. It's a fundamental truth. Hinduism cannot live exclusively as one sampradaya. No. All sampradayas of Hinduism is an ecosystem. So don't keep quiet thinking that if one sampradaya is attacked, only that sampradaya is going to be affected. All of us are ecosystems. I invite all of you to get involved and enjoy Hinduism by the principle of Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. When you protect Dharma, Dharma protects you. We will make the whole planet flourish spiritually, the spiritual prosperity. Will happen to the whole planet. We all have to coexist together. We get you health. We get you ability to build beautiful relationships in your life. We get you direct spiritual support, and we make sure you become wealthy. We won't stop giving you just good life. We will literally not stop till you live enlightened life. Manifesting the state of Paramashiva, space of Paramashiva, powers of Paramashiva, being of Paramashiva. Whole world should become Kailasians. I want the whole world to know Hindus have something great to contribute to the world.
Come back, dear viewers. Now, as soon as we want to continue to describe how the assassination attempts continued and started after the doctored video was published and aired on the national media channel in India. It started, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was in Tiruvannamalai, the monastery at that time, and it was a full moon day. So millions of the devotees of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had come to have the darshan of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism on the 2nd of March. And there was a huge public gathering. It was a full moon day. So, and millions actually walk around the circumambulate around the Arunachala hill. And as they come, they always come to the monastery, the Tiruvannamalai Adinam, and where free food is being served, and so many spiritual services, free services are being offered for everybody going around in the Girivalam path. So they and they came, and Swamiji had a satsang, a discourse, public discourse, which was open to all, and free Annadan was going on. And on that very same night, when the Supreme Pontiff, knowing that the Supreme Pontiff is going to be in Tiruvannamalai, the anti-Hindu elements barged into the monastery. This is right after the video was telecasted. The anti-Hindu elements literally barged into the monastery, started beating the monks who were staying there, and started harassing them, asking them to reveal where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was. And they were very clear and they were very vocal that they wanted to kill and assassinate the Supreme Pontiff. And just with the grace of Paramashiva, with the grace of Kalabhairava, Swamiji's car, as the anti-Hindu elements just entered the Adina, Swamiji's car just in a split second was able to literally escape from the monastery. And here you can literally see the anti-Hindu elements coming and harassing the residents in the Tiruvannamalai monastery. They are coming and beating them and tearing the pictures, and here you can see literally beating Swamiji's pictures and images and banners with slippers and whatnot. And they created such a havoc, started beating the monks, and it was just in just a few minutes the Swamiji's car was able to just leave the monastery before the anti-Hindu elements could block the gate and stop anybody from entering or leaving the monastery. Here you can see the pictures of the assault. And as Swamiji's car left from the Tiruvannamalai Adinam, next it went to the next closest Adinam, which was the Sirgari Adinam. And in Sirgari again, the anti-Hindu elements continued to chase Swamiji's car, and they continue to instill hate in the community. The false news and the hate speech angers the society, and they came and they completely destroyed the Sirgari temple, beautiful temple we have. Yeah, the assassins came, hearing that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was in Sirgari center. However, when they were not able to locate the Supreme Pontiff, they threatened the devotees to disclose the whereabouts of the Supreme Pontiff, or they would burn down the entire building. And they vandalized the center and tore the banner, and they literally set it on fire. And right after Sirgari, they then traced and followed Swamiji's car and went to the Salem Adinam. So starts up from Tiruvannamalai and traced all the way to Sirgari. From Sirgari, they are tracing Swamiji to the Salem Adinam, and it was already second midnight, late midnight, past 12 o'clock, and third early morning when Swamiji's car entered the Salem monastery. And in the Salem monastery, the anti-Hindu elements, along with the police, with the support and the protection of the police. If you are a Hindu guru and if you are from a Hindu organization, the police will come and they will support the attackers, and the victims are further tortured. And so in the Salem monastery, as Swamiji entered, the anti-Hindu elements came to know. They came in with the police. They started literally harassing the people there. Somehow they came to know about the Supreme Pontiff's car had entered the Salem monastery and tried their best to get to Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, which is again in a narrow escape. Supreme Pontiff's car was able to just leave the Salem Adinam and rush towards the next destination, which was the Adi Kailasa Sarvagyapeetham. And the Salem Adinam was completely destroyed by the anti-Hindu elements. All the services had to stop. All the living members of the Adinam, everybody had to be displaced, forcibly displaced, without having a place to go, without having a place to stay. The monastic members and the members of the Adinam, the full-time residents, had to go through so much of trauma and pain and insecurity and fear and so much of violence done against, just because the anti-Hindu elements wanted to completely eliminate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And then comes the black day in the Hindu history, which is the 3rd of March 2010, when the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was locked inside his own quarters in Adi Kailasa Sarvajñapeta. Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was locked inside his own residence, and the residence was locked from outside, and the hut was allowed to be burned. I request our NTV operator to play the testimony, the eyewitness testimonies of the disciples of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism who were there at that time, and what was the experience, and what did they hear, what really happened on the 3rd of March, the dark day in Hindu history. Let us take a look.
My name is Sri Nithyananda Swami. This is in 2010. The media telecast something wrongly about Swamiji. Like a group, like a lot of people, like 50 to 100 people with sticks, stones. They just barge into the area and like just pull up my shoulder, push me against the wall. They just like slapped me left and right, started kicking me and pushing me, just holding my neck and asking like, where is Swamiji, where is Swamiji? I couldn't see a trace of humanness in them. So one after another, people started surrounding me, tied my hand behind, one after another, like one guy after another. Where is Swamiji, where is Swamiji? They started putting fire to everywhere, beating up like every single person they see. Even though the whole thing looked like a random mob activity, they were very clearly targeting Swamiji only. They were very well armed with all the fire ammunitions and petrol bombs. Such an organized manner. They were having like a camera crew also. They were so precisely, very clearly going behind Swamiji. They're just putting it on fire. Every single place where Swamiji could be, like they were like burning it up. They are actually going to kill the Swamiji. They have planned to kill. The mob was going in every direction, very wild, putting fire at every single possible place where he could be. That is the most disturbing thing. Praying like nothing should happen to him and somehow he should escape this whole thing and be alive only. I couldn't do anything. For the whole world, it was shown like a public thing, but we know what was the original intention. We faced it. The truth has to be told. Truth has to be told. It is not anything general. It is a very targeted thing. It is very much targeted thing. It is not a general thing at all. It was a targeted attack. It was a targeted attack. It is not at all what was told out in the media. But very fortunately, some of the people helped Swamiji from this whole thing and got him to safety. I have a lot more of these things. But this is one of the most painful things, like for the very first time that I was like seeing things, how this world is behaving in such a ruthless manner, like not considering any single human thing. Just going behind somebody just to kill, no matter what. Like, so it was such a wild experience. That was really wild experience. It is not at all what the world is shown. It is completely different. The world is deliberately shown something. What happened is, this is what was happening.
Let us see one more eyewitness testimony.
My name is Sri Nithyananda Swami. I was in the ashram last 10 years. I was doing the designing work. in 2010 March 3, I was in the office. When I came out of the office, I saw a big flame in the residential area. I saw the whole hut was full of fire and few people shouting inside the hut, and I saw the door was locked and few media rowdies seeing people in the fire capturing the video, and I was trying to put out the fire. Two rowdies stopped me, beating me and killing me, not allowing me to put out the fire. And the fire was spreading more and more, and people are shouting from inside. I'm not able to see people burning alive, not able to hear the sound, people shouting from inside. And few sannyasis then broke the lock and saved them. Within few seconds, the whole hut was collapsed and fall down. At any moment, I may be killed, or any of the Adinivas may be killed. This was continuing from 2010 till it's not ending, it's go on. They are continuously attacking our Guru, our people.
And here, as you can hear from the direct eyewitness testimonies, what they did to Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and this whole attack was live telecasted on a national television channel, that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is being burnt live inside his own headquarters, inside his own monastery. And that very same monastery today has opened up its doors for thousands to come and avail the COVID care and the COVID protection when the entire country is suffering. It is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism rushed aid, Kailasa's aid, and offered and opened up all the Kailasas with multi-layer quarantine facility to protect Indians and to protect Hindus from the deadly COVID attack. But in that same place, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was locked inside his own quarters, and it was a live telecasted, and a person is actually standing in front of a burning hut and giving a live commentary. You can see giving a live commentary to the media, saying that Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is being locked inside his own quarters, and the whole place is burning, and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is actually being burnt inside his own quarters. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism literally had to escape through a bathroom window and literally leave the monastery, somehow escape the monastery by jumping out of a bathroom window. And the entire monastery, the fire spread far and wide. The police was there to give protection to the attackers, and they did not do anything for the victims. Till today, nobody has been held responsible for this targeted killing, and there is no legal recourse, nothing moves. And so the police, the law enforcement authorities are in hand with the anti-Hindu elements. So there is absolutely no question of legal recourse, because there is nobody supporting the victims or wanting to give justice to the victims. That is why the entire system is so anti-Hindu. And then the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism travels to Hosur and then to Pondicherry, and in each of these places the monastery is ransacked, the deities are defiled, the entire Adinam is being attacked, and everywhere banners of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism are being torn, his pictures are being stamped, and his effigies are being burned, and everything is live telecasted on the national media channel. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was continuously traced for almost 3,000 kilometers non-stop. He was chased from one place to the next, one place to the next, for close to about 3 to 4 days continuously. The Supreme Pontiff's car was traced and followed, and they went all the way up to the north. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was in Haridwar to attend the spiritual responsibility of Kumbh Mela. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had gone to Haridwar. The media militant mafia had actually barged into the hotel room of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Here you can see the various violent attacks on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and literally instigating violence in the public. And the paid gundas and the henchmen, they do this. It's one of the standard tactics used for targeted killing. Make everybody believe that dog is mad, and then kill the dog. So that's what they do. They start with a media hate speech, make everyone believe that, this organization is not authentic, or whatever they want to share, and then they do a targeted killing as if to justify their own rumors that they spread. So this is the tactics used by the anti-Hindu elements. And now I request the NTV operator to project the visuals of the Haridwar attack, where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was traced all the way till the north, till Haridwar, into his hotel room, where it was live telecasted on a national media channel that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was found in Haridwar. Here you can see the pictures of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in north attending the Kumbh Mela, and right outside his own hotel room, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was tracked, and even the room number which the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was staying was live telecasted on a national media channel. Here you can see the media mafia taking it to the extreme and absolutely violating every form of a human right a human being is supposed to have. Everything gets violated. So much of hate speech against Swamiji in the media, and continuously they trace the location of the Supreme Pontiff, wanting to. Here you can see the hotel room, the board, the number outside the hotel room, and everything is being live telecasted on the national media. And not just that, this continues from Tiruvannamalai, more than 3,000 kilometers. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was faced, and continuously, one place after the other, the assassination attempt happened. And overall, more than 100 assassination attempts have happened on Supreme Pontiff's lives. More than 70 major assassination attempts have happened as well. And right after that, on the 21st of April 2010, when the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was illegally arrested because of a lie told by the police. Actually, when the Supreme Pontiff's counsel had gone to apply for an anticipatory bail, the police lied in the court saying that they had already arrested the Supreme Pontiff. However, only after a few hours later, the police actually arrested the Supreme Pontiff. So they actually lied to cancel the anticipatory bail so that the Supreme Pontiff could be illegally arrested and killed while in custody. So when they arrested the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and brought Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to Bangalore, at that time in the Bangalore airport, the police had actually informed all the anti-Hindu militants, and they had created kind of a stampede, a mob stampede, where they could do anything to the Supreme Pontiff. Nobody will know, because there are so much of crowd purposely gathered to do the mob lynching. And at that time, a shoe was thrown on Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and that shoe had an acid yag actually in the shoe, and it was targeted on the face of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Thankfully, by the grace of Paramashiva and the protection of Kalabhairava, that shoe hit the thigh, and the ascent egg fell on the ground. Instead of, it was actually targeted on Supreme Pontiff's face. And that was one incident. And while the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was in custody, when he was arrested, when the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was in custody under the name of medical tests, injections, where the cardiac arrest inducing injections were administered to the Supreme Pontiff under the name of medical tests. And the Supreme Pontiff, who was hale and healthy before he was illegally arrested, was wheelchair bound in just 48 hours. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism complained about chest pain and he was wheelchair bound. Here you can see the pictures of how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was arrested. And at that time, a mob lynch incident happening in the airport, in the Bengaluru airport, where a shoe with an ascent egg was thrown on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And right after the arrest, here you can see in the Bangalore airport, hundreds of people gathering. And exactly here you can see the police wantedly gathering the mob just to surround around the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism so that you cannot identify who's doing what. And at that time, a shoe containing an acid was thrown on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, which actually hit, thankfully, the thigh, and the acid fell on the ground. Not just that, when the Supreme Pontiff was in custody, was under the illegal arrest, when the Supreme Pontiff was in custody, at that time, cardiac arrest inducing injections were administered to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and it caused chest pain, caused cardiac arrest, and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism became wheelchair bound in just 2 days of being taken into his custody. And numerous tortures were done to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, which we will be sharing the upcoming segments of this program. Today, we wanted to give you an overview of really what happened in 2010, the targeted killings that happened on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And this is not just an one-off attack. This has been going on. These targeted killings are used as a mechanism to eliminate Hindu gurus, Hindu organizations, and it has been happening since 1900s, and it's been happening for the last 5,000 plus years, where Hindu gurus are being targeted and being attacked. Here you can see the illegal arrest of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the visuals, the videos, the pictures. Here you can see how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is being arrested and being brought over. And purposely here you can see one of the police officers trying to hide, trying to cover the face of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism with a book, just to make it look as if the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is a guilty criminal. All these are planned conspiracies of the anti-Hindu elements, just to make the Supreme Pontiff look as if he is a guilty criminal. Totally a strategy of the anti-Hindu elements, continuously showing that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is in the police custody. And you can see the various how everywhere the police had brought in the mob and so much of crowd gathering around the Supreme Pontiff, and you never know who is doing what at what point in time. So many assassination attempts. And finally, Supreme Pontiff is brought to the Bengaluru airport, where the next assassination attempt was planned. So, dear viewers, today was an attempt of us to present to you how these assassination attempts and targeted killings are happening against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And it is happening not just to Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, to his disciples, and the attack against Kailasa itself. As a part of the Hindu Persecution Awareness Month that we are having in this July 2021, Kailasa is taking the responsibility to share the information about the Hindu Holocaust and the persecution happening constantly against Hinduism, against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and Kailasa wanted to bring it to the attention of the international community, and the untiring efforts of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism have finally borne fruit, with the United Nations recognizing the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Kailasa, thanks to the efforts of the Supreme Pontiff. Today, we have an international body recognizing finally that the Hindu Holocaust has been recognized, Hindu persecution has been recognized, and we are able to share the brutal attacks and the murders and the genocides done on Hindus, and is being still done on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Kailasa. At least we are able to bring it out to the attention of the international community. And in the upcoming segments of this program, we are going to be sharing with you about the various other dimensions of the attack on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, on the Enlightenment ecosystem, and on Kailasa itself. So with that, we invite each and every one of you to please share the report published by the United Nations on the attack and persecution on Supreme Pontiff and Kailasa, and use the hashtag UN recognizes persecution of SPH Nithyananda and Kailasa. With that, we would like to now conclude this segment of the program with the Purna Mantra, and next we are going to be having the Kailash Courtyard Power Manifestation session. So let's now conclude the Purna. Namada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Nasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Shanti 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 Sarvam Bhagat Shri Nithyananda Padukarpanamastu. Om.
Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda. Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda. Shivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. 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 Om
His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. Let's start with the Sadguru Vandanam. Nithyanandam Paramasukhanam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadushnam Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Let's go through the disclaimers. Security measures. No photography, video, audio recording. Important cautions. Please be aware of the important cautions. What is spa manifestation? Let's hear from Bhagavan himself explaining what is spa manifestation.
All the 25 states of consciousness, when they happen in you, due to your chemicals and hormones ups and downs, it is powerlessness. When it happens in you, out of your free will and consciousness, it is powerfulness. That's all. When you fall into sleep, it is powerlessness. When you enter into sleep, it is powerfulness. When you fall into dream, it is powerlessness. When you decide to dream, it is powerfulness. So I have added the ultimate powerfulness, Turyatita, in your whole being and doing. Manifest all the powers. Understand, power manifestation is nothing but cognitive shift. It is not work. It is cognitive shift. Understand? It is just cognitive shift. It's not work. Work is a 4-letter word. Power manifestation is cognitive shift. Playing with life. Playing with being alive.
Beautifully, Bhagavan says, what is power manifestation? Being alive, and more alive as conscious sovereignty that we can experience as our higher reality. The science of power manifestation, it is a science because it is repeatable and all of us can experience that. And the evidences which supports that it is a science, that each of the human, each of the being can experience the superconscious breakthrough. Bhagavan beautifully says, Shastra Pramana, the eternal unchangeable truth revealed in the source scriptures, the Vedas and the Agamas. Apta Pramana, experience and the results of the Aptas, Rishis, Munis, Ganas, Nayanamar, Alvar, Siddhas, all of them are authority of Hinduism. Atma Pramana, the account of His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Parameshwaram, this millennium's avatar's personal experience of each power manifestation, Bhagavan's very own Leelas. Shakshi Pramana, the experience of the millions of disciple devotees, followers into the science of power manifestation initiated by Bhagavan himself. Bhagavan has beautifully said how the science of power manifestation is the only thing we need to practice as Hinduism, as new species. And beautifully, Bhagavan has given the Pratyaksha Pramana to give the measurement of the effect of being in the enlightened state. Again and again, Bhagavan beautifully says how we can experience the conscious sovereignty in each and action, each experience, each word, each thought current. So we can manifest all the auspiciousness in the life. All the Balasans, you can see how they are manifesting the powers of Paramashiva continuously. Let's go to the Shastra Pramana. Shastra Pramana is from the Shiva Samhita. Shiva Samhita for the power of clairvoyance.
Be with this powerful cognition of to be in center, continue.
ज्ञानन्य च प्रतिमं तस्य त्रिकालविषयं भवेत् दूरसृष्टि दूरदृष्टि स्वेच्छया कागतां व्रजेत् ज्ञानन्य च प्रतिमं तस्य त्रिकालविषयं भवेत् दूरसृष्टि दूरदृष्टि स्वेच्छया कागतां व्रजेत्.
Beautifully, Paramashiva says in the Shiva Samhita 5.8384, Bhagavan Paramashiva says he gets immeasurable experience, knowledge, knows the past, present, future time, has Dura Drishti and Dura Shrishti, the power of having distance vision and the power of having distance vision and distance seeing, the sight. Here we are going to be experiencing at a distance of 50 feet or even across the country, how we can have the experience of reading, seeing things, and how we can even see and also experience as listening. The great distance, anywhere. Khagatam is a way of flying in the air, and ultimately the ability to download anything, sarvanyatva, omniscience. All this is a possibility when we understand what is Bhagavan giving to the humanity in our overall picture, how each of these great Nayanamars. Sundara, he was one of the greatest Nayanar. He was not just a Nayanar, but also he held the space that Paramashiva is his closest friend and he can tell anything and ask anything and simply manifest any reality. Once he wanted to give food for the poor and he wants to do annadan, and he didn't know what to do because he did not have money. All he knows is Paramashiva. He sang on Paramashiva, and all the rocks, the stone rocks in the morning turned as diamonds, and he sold it, and then he fed all the poor doing annadan. The ultimate space that he was even able to awaken a kid who got swallowed by a crocodile, digested by a crocodile, and just like Angam Bumbavai, beautifully Tirunakavasar, he raised from a pot, from the ashes. All these are not some mythology and something that we have to imagine or fantasy, but these are the reality when Hanuman flies across the ocean or is able to see through third eye where is Sita. All these great powers are simply possible for humanity to experience everything. When Hanuman met Rama first time, he asked Rama in 9 types of grammar in Sanskrit to check whether Rama is really educated, really he has the knowledge. Hanuman does not just run to Rama. Same way, when Vivekananda went to Ramakrishna Paramamsar, he just doesn't go. He asked all the questions in the world. And 6 years, Ramakrishna literally went behind Vivekananda to make him what he was. That is why he hardly spoke. He spoke only twice on Ramakrishna Paramamsar. All these great truths are again and again repeated to us to make us understand what is the real essence of our humanity, why we are here on planet Earth, and how we can manifest all the auspiciousness, abundance, just like all these Siddhas, Nayanamars, Alvars, all of them manifested. And we are no exception. Bhagavan, just because we are here, Bhagavan says we are already blessed and we are the chosen one to experience all these realities, all the powers of Paramashiva. All we need is simple integrity and simple obedience to come here and manifest and experience the prasada that Bhagavan is going to offer to all of us. He has cooked the meal. He is making everything available. All we need to do is open our mouth and experience the joy of the prasada. Bhagavan beautifully gives the Apta Pramana. Apta Pramana here talks of beautiful story from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 40. Once Kamsa sent Akrura to escort Krishna and Balarama from Vrindavan to his court. That was the last time Krishna was in Vrindavan. All the Gopikas really hate Akrura because he took them Krishna off. And when he had to do his daily rituals, he made them wait on a rock, and he went into the sea to dip, and all he saw was again Rama and Krishna and Balarama, even in the water, and the waters simply disappeared. The beautiful slave Akrura is, when Akrura went to Vrindavan, first thing he did before even meeting Krishna, he just started lying down and rolling on all the mud. He said, if the mud dust of Krishna can start happening on my body, simply I will also manifest all the powers. He was in such a oneness space with Krishna that Akrura, after that, he sits and completes Gopikas to make them understand Krishna has not left anyone except the physical form of it, which the Gopikas understood, having the Jnana Vairagya Bhakti, the pure space of Bhakti. They understood how they can be with Krishna, even if he is gone out of Vrindavan in physical form with each one of them. That is the most beautiful space that Akrura could create in the Gopikas. Such beautiful space is possible for each of us when we experience the conscious sovereignty. Bhagavan beautifully explains on consciousness.
This power. If my classmates are fighting for a candy, immediately I'll say, don't worry, I'll just materialize on candy and give them. Some of my classmates, friends come and tell me, Swamiji, today, even in those days I used to be called as Swami. Swami, today I have not done my homework. Please save me from the maths teacher. I'll say, all right, he will have diarrhea, he will not come to the school. And he will not come. He will have diarrhea. Of course, later on, the great Siddha Purusha in Tiruvannamalai, he made me realize that you should not be using the Kundalini Shakti, Ashtama Siddhis, so casually, even for small things. Then from 17 I stopped using. Used only very rarely, only really when it is required. From 22nd I surrendered everything completely to the cosmos. And whatever the divine wants, that plays, that uses, that expresses. If the divine wants, it expresses and shows even Vishwarupa. Or it just lives ordinary, inside the boundaries of simple rules, regulations, as per the divine wish and will, it is happening. By 22, the withering away of the will has happened. So after that, no decision is mine.
Shakshi Pramanas are the initial.
So beautiful, Bhagwan, how he manifested so many powers. And now he is manifesting through all of us. Now, Shakshi Pramana, how the devotee experienced the
Mark 3 pages. So I don't know, I didn't know